I don't have much to talk about today, just asbestos and lead.
All right, guys, the reason we're doing this training is for Seton Hall, K-State. They want us to have asbestos awareness training and lead training. Lead's kind of a standard thing for us. Asbestos, we usually don't do any abatement. We turn that over to general contractor, let them handle that. This particular job, there's been a study out there and by the state and the owner, and found the asbestos and the lead contaminant. At this point, they believe all the asbestos has been removed from the job. So this is going to be just more of a, hey, if you see something suspicious, bring it to their attention and let them see it. And let them take care of it, abatement. There's a report that's available out there that shows everything that they found, where they found it. You're welcome to look at that if you want to. The lead abatement, mainly we're going to be drilling through some lead paint, but we've had a monitoring test and he'll tell you about that, the results of that. We'll have some welding, but they are going to abate those areas before we start. So, turn it over to Jim.
Okay guys, let me tell you just a little bit about asbestos. It was fairly common when I was younger to have asbestos around, and obviously now, because they found it to be dangerous to people and their health, it's being removed in many of the older buildings. And I think Seton Hall is a building that's been around at K-State for many years.
Yeah,
First
parts of it were 1890s, I think.
Yeah. So it's a fairly old building, and they had some insulation in there, and asbestos probably in the walls that needed to be abated. So asbestos is just kind of a generic term. There's different kinds of asbestos. It's naturally occurring, it's fibrous in nature, and it takes on a different look depending on how it's being used. It's hard to identify. So I think one of the most important things to mention to you is if you come across any type of insulation when you're working, I think you should probably stop, and why don't you just go talk to the general about it on the job, because we don't want you coming in contact with it. As far as we know, the asbestos has been taken out, but if you see any signage that says there's asbestos in the area, don't go there, right? If anything has plastic sheeting and you see that they're working in that area, please don't go anywhere near there. It'd be best not to do that. Asbestos can be found on sprayed on fireproofing and pipe insulation, floor tiles, cement pipe, things of that nature. Because of very few asbestos containing products are being installed today, most workers' exposure occur during the removal of asbestos. I doubt if you're going to come across it very much except in older structures. So some of the dangers of asbestos, we want to make sure that we get that out and that you're aware of it. The fibers enter the body when a person inhales and when they breathe. You ingest airborne particles that become embedded in the tissues of probably would be in your lungs or your digestive system. And exposure to asbestos really can cause some disabling or fatal diseases such as asbestosis, which is an emphysema-like condition where you have a very difficult time breathing. All of the testing has been done, and to our knowledge, it's been completed in regards to asbestos and lead on the job, and it's been found to be safe at this time. The monitoring for, and I'm going to be talking about lead here in a second, has also been done, and in regards to that, it's within, I think it was found to be 100 times safer than the allowable limit. So you guys are going to be good. If you do see anything that's a little strange, we want you to be aware of it, okay? The OSHA standard is found in 29 CFR Part 1926-1101. I should probably mention that since we're talking about it and what the OSHA standard is. And it regulates asbestos exposure for the following activities: demolishing or salvaging structures, removing or encapsulating asbestos containing material. This is the one that we're really concerned about, which is in construction, where you're altering, repairing, maintaining, or renovating asbestos containing structures. So that would be found in that OSHA regulation. If you were installing any type of asbestos containing products, cleaning up asbestos spills and transporting or disposing of it or storing it in some way or form. The asbestos exposure policy here for the firm is as follows, and it's set up by OSHA. It has as a primary mandate from Congress, please excuse me, but I do need to read this and go over it with you, the responsibility to promote safe work practices in an effort to improve workplace safety by minimizing the incidence of workplace injuries that occur from exposure to asbestos or asbestos compounds. So in order to make sure that everybody was safe, they did establish 29 CFR 1926.1101. And that established uniform workplace requirements for the sampling of the workplace to determine asbestos exposure, and then monitoring the environment after that to maintain a level below which might cause an injury or illness to any employee. And so the management here recognizes that asbestos exposure has been determined to be a possible carcinogen and can also cause chronic illness to individuals. So Building Erection Services has implemented this asbestos exposure program to make sure that everybody understands the strict interpretation and the intent of the applicable OSHA standard. Whenever a job is bid where asbestos is known to exist, all personnel are trained in asbestos exposure awareness prior to their presence on the job site. And should any asbestos be unexpectedly found during construction, if you see anything that looks like asbestos, somewhat of a fibrous material in nature, all personnel should be removed from that work area until asbestos training and monitoring can take place again. And appropriate safeguards are in place as determined by normally we use a third-party compliance provider to make sure that there's no risk at all. And so the objective of this whole thing is to prevent injury to you, to keep you from being harmed or hurt in any way while you're on the workplace. In regards to lead, once again, you'll be dealing with a small amount of lead paint that they have found where you're going to be doing some scraping and drilling. And specifically, the construction that's going to take place would include, but isn't really limited to, the following things. Reads quite similar in nature to asbestos. It's demolition or salvage of structures, construction activities that involve removal or encapsulation of materials containing lead, new construction, alteration, repair or renovation of structures or significant portions thereof that contain lead or materials containing lead, installation during construction of products, lead contamination with emergency cleanup, transportation, once again, disposal, and containment. So the possible exposure limit, which would be the permissible exposure limit, which would be the PEL for lead in construction, is an airborne concentration of 50 micrograms of lead per cubic meter of air, and as an 8-hour time-weighted average. So we need to make sure when you're there that you always wear your protective equipment as outlined by the company policies. So whatever you're supposed to have on when you're doing that particular job, if you pay attention to that, please, whatever protective equipment. That might include your work clothing, it could include gloves, hat shoes, disposable shoe coverings, a lot of different things that you could wear during the workday. So lead was found in a coating where drilling or scraping or grinding can take place. And I just want to reiterate to you in regards to the asbestos and the lead, that the monitoring has been performed. It's found to be about 100 times safer than the allowable limit. So you're going to be safe on the workplace. We want you to know that. But we are supposed to inform you of the asbestos and lead that was in the area. You'll find lead on some of the paint that is there. However, I would have to say that everything that's taken place, I just had a discussion with Ken, is certainly permissible, and you can go about your work and shouldn't feel any type of problems. You shouldn't feel that you're being placed in any type of a situation that would compromise your health in any way. So are there any questions? Is there anything that I missed?
With the lead, I just want to go over the health effects. I mean, if y'all are exposed to too much lead, which you won't be on this job, because like we've said, the monitoring shows that it's like more than, I've actually seen the monitoring, more than 100 times below OSHA's permissible exposure limit. But those who are exposed to significant amount of lead can experience neurological effects, gastrointestinal effects, anemia. Y'all probably heard of lead poisoning, kidney disease. Some of the symptoms are muscle and joint pain, and you may taste a metallic taste in your mouth. Okay?
All right.
Anyway.
Any questions? Ken, do you have anything?
Yeah, just a couple. Thank you, Jim.
Yeah.
Couple things just about our policy out there, guys, is, one, you know, if you see something, as always, report it to immediate foreman, and they can take it to, in this case, probably a couple foremen, so they'll take it to Jim, and Jim can take it to, Dunn, but stop working on anything that you think suspicious. The monitoring test that we did, Jim actually participated in that, drilling the mag holes through there. Like I said, we changed everything we could to a bolted connection, so we don't have that as much exposure. We'll still offer you, if you want to wear a respirator voluntarily, it's up to you. We'll provide it for you. You have to get your fit test. It would be probably a half mask. What do you call it? P100? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
P100 or something like that if you want it. And the other thing is, I think our time limit here is going to be pretty limited also, because of work actually in the existing building is pretty limited compared to the rest of the project. I'd call it 30 days. It might move a little slower now on kind of material and problems we're running into, but originally, I was thinking it's going to be about 4 or 5 weeks with 5 guys. Probably not much longer on the hours, but you know, it might spread out over 2 months as opposed to 1 month. So that's it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it.